One morning, I awoke to the sound of cars sloshing through water puddles. Before I ever opened my eyes, I knew I was on pavement. My back told me. And the exact moment my eyelids separated to reveal my environment, fat drops of rain landed in them. All I could make out was moist droplets and trees. Nature had given me the finest morning to wake up to. Cool air wet with continuous, albeit very light, rain, which cleansed instantly and refreshed the senses, and a shadowy gloom perpetuating itself like a blanket, shrouding all my eyes let in. True, this was, and remains still, my favorite kind of morning. It is my favorite kind of day, but waking up on pavement, drenched, on the side of some road, and not remembering how I came to be in this situation, must go down as a terrible morning, a horrible morning, despite the connection I feel toward a good old rainy, gloomy day. I could remember almost the entire previous day, just not what had happened to land me here in the road. The day before had been much different. I'd climbed a mountain and saw farther than I'd ever seen before. I thought about things for a while. It's much easier to think that high up, that alone, with all of nature surrounding. Standing alone on that mountaintop, I may as well have been on Mars. Toward the end of my thinking atop the mountain, I began to see nature as my witness. Right around the moment when I began realizing it wasn't I who was bearing witness to nature, but nature merely humoring me, the sky opened up, and heavenly water broke like glass on all of everything. I ran down the mountain. Ran into the woods. Not back the way I'd come, but in a direction that felt just as familiar. Familiarity was suspended, however, when the ground disappeared. I became one with the elements, and brother to all water, as my body hurled down a cascade, and I splashed and whipped with the rest of it. Out of the pushy water and saw what looked to be a million suns. There was something in me pushing and pulling me. I wondered, is this what enlightenment feels like? Total disorientation? Then I wondered, how would I know if I was ever actually in a state of enlightenment if I had to ask myself, is this what enlightenment feels like? A suddenly bottomless sadness struck me. I knew there was nothing to be sad about, so I began feeling guilty for being so sad. It continued to pour. As it poured, I poured from my flask, and from my cup I poured my mouth. To partake in a drink seemed the only reasonable thing to do at such a startling onset of down-reaching emotions. I didn't know where it all had come from, and there was no one or nothing even trying to explain me. I was on my own. Instinct rattled my cage and began injecting positive thinking as it were a shot of adrenaline. Maybe it was the alcohol. Visions of me as two ghosts collided. This was when I knew I was drunk, and I started to feel good again, as good as I was feeling atop the mountain before the fall. I entered a wood and enjoyed the patter of rain, now more sporadic. Seeking its way through the lush, whispering canopy. Yes, the canopy spoke. The extensions of biology through which tiers of atmosphere whistled gave nature an audible voice, and the voice spoke to me. Another vision happened upon me. I saw an Indian and a big rock discussing something that seemed to be very important. The visions fell away, and with what I learned from them, if anything at all, honestly, I'm still not sure if anything was actually grasped and processed into intelligible thought from those minor hallucinations. I just know that one thing simply led to another. I forced epiphany. And from the strain of believing I'd just been initiated by revelation, a flesh fire was struck in my mind, manifested right there before me among the soggy twigs and leaves, and the earth was gray. In the flesh fire I saw another flesh fire, and inside that one yet another. It made me warm, that flesh fire, and it filled me with hope I wasn't sure I needed. The rain stopped. The fire died. I walked. I smelled the air with renewed olfactory. Whatever had brought me down earlier was now gone, dissipated with bits of my consciousness left behind. I supposed I didn't need them anyway. Night fell on the forest and me. The moonlight made the clouds seem as though they were weightless balls of cotton, adrift on some windy current. Would I revel like this again? Surrounded by beauty of the highest order, questioning which half of me spoke to which half of me was listening, and of those which would be acting out the actions I demanded from whichever half, I at last took notice of how the ghosts had been long gone. So I began wondering out loud why I was wondering this at all. Had I poisoned my own drink? Paranoia was slight in its grip, and a general overall feeling of goodness was still at large within me, but I couldn't get a handle on anything, so I relaxed a bit. And figured I didn't need to feel a tight grip on this reality, so long as I knew which reality I was in. And I was in my own.